Top of the morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the listeners out there. A hearty and healthy Irish hello. You're listening to the Celtic Coach radio show where science, spirituality, and self-discovery meet. They hang out, they make love, they date, they do all those crazy things that we know in life. All right, we've got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking today to Kamin Samuel on creating financial prosperity. Well, there couldn't be a better time on the planet for doing that than now, with just so much fear that's going on the planet. I often think, we're either reacting to what is or we're creating something new. And today we're going to be talking about how to create financial prosperity, how to create financial abundance. And we probably won't talk about working harder and doing longer hours and all that stuff to make. We're probably not going to go that route, I would imagine. All right, our next guest. Oh, she's just a wonderful lady. I've had the pleasure to get to know her over the past few months. Kamin Samuel is an international rapid transformational coach and therapist. She also guides business owners, executives, and coaches in growing their business and changing their lives in a rapid way. She also has a unique gift for transforming limiting beliefs, which we're going to talk about today, and behaviors to help her client achieve their goals and up-level the quality of their own lives. Interesting distinction and fact about Kamin, we were just talking before the show about Harriet Tubman, is that she's the U.S. Navy's first female African-American helicopter pilot. So she just flew in today, and hopefully she'll hang out for an hour. She also has background in information technology, web development, and online merchandising. She's also served as the vice president of global website operations at a billion-dollar company. Kamin is also an award-winning author of Amazon's bestsellers Increase Your Abundance, Starting Today, and the Wealth Transformation Journal, and recently released Successful Life Transformational Journal, which I'm doing at the moment. So I can attest to the validity and the impact that Kamin's work is having on me, and I'm sure on you today. With all that being said, welcome, Kamin.
Thank you, Dermot. It's so wonderful to be here. I'm really excited for what we're going to talk about today.
I am too. I thought I'd start off the show, Kamin, with a few little interesting facts about money. 180 different currencies in the world. In the 1500 BC, that's when coins were first invented. Money was first traded in skins, fish, rice, salt, blood, weapons, and bat guano. That's bat poo, in case you're wondering what that is. The buck from America came from buck skins. So lend me a buck, now you know what you're referring to. All paper currency, listeners, is not made from paper. 25% cotton and 75% linen. If you're in Australia, it's polymer, it's plastic, it's not actually paper at all. Queen Elizabeth, God bless the Queen, the second, her face is on 33 countries of currency. Wow, that's a lot of face time. $10 in your pocket. Oh yeah, here's an interesting fact. If you've got $10 in your pocket and you've got no debt, D-E-B-T, no debt, you are wealthier than 25% of American people. All right, well, I have $10. Icelanders use their credit card more than anyone else. 70% of business is through the credit card, and 39% of people in North America use the credit card. What a difference. All right. And the vast majority of money in the world is simply numbers. All right, here's some dire facts before we go into solving your credit card problems. $17 trillion in debt currently in America. 900 billion of that is in credit card debt. People spend on average 47% more when they're using the credit card than they do when they're using the cash. 69% of bankruptcy filers say it was caused by credit card debt. Or maybe it was one of those pesky gremlins. Millions of people in America live on $2 or $2 per day. And myself and Kamin were just talking here before the show. The abolitionist and political activist Harriet Tubman. She, for those of you who don't know, incredible African American lady. Just recently, well, not recently, she passed away in 1913, but in the late 1800s, she did over 13 missions to save and rescue 70 slaves. An amazing lady. I don't know why she hasn't gotten sainthood, but she is going to replace Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill. That's pretty cool. The first African American lady in history for that. All right, enough of that. Kamin, why are we in so much debt? What's going on in the world? Help us out here.
Nothing like, let's start with solving world peace to begin with.
Yeah, I just wanted to like throw you to the fire.
Why are we in so much debt?
Do you get that question a lot when you're working with clients?
Well, most people are so consumed with, why am I in debt? Why am I, like, I make a lot of money and I got nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
I have I make, some people make a extreme amount in their salaries or from their businesses, and within a few months they're back to zero again. And so that cycle is a lot of what I work with people on realizing that those behaviors actually come from somewhere. Those are the whole, kind of from a biblical perspective, there's a hole in your purse and money is draining out. Well, I like to look from that point is then to look at what are the behaviors they learned as children. So there's a lot of different reasons why the whole, country, world is in debt, but some of that really comes from behaviors we picked up or things that we're kind of rejecting that we don't even realize on a conscious level are happening.
Sorry, I'm on mute there. I remember reading something to the effect of that personal finance is 80% behavior and actually 20% just skills or head knowledge.
I would actually say it's a little bit different. It may be 80% behavior and 20% knowledge, but it's also almost 95% subconscious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about that.
How we behave is generally, I generally will ask clients when they first come to me is tell me what your parents did around money and work. And what were the messages that you heard growing up? And many times those are, you're not going to make any money. It's hard to make money. Money is the root of all evil. People have guilt around money. They saw their, parents make money. They're not worth investing. And so some of the messages people heard were actual messages. But then some of those messages were also filtered by the child's mind, and they made it mean something about them that they weren't worth money, or they weren't worth investing in. So it's a lot of times I'm looking for, like, what did they hear from a parent or a guardian or teacher so that we can reframe this. And one thing I want to make really clear is it's not about blame of parents or anybody. We just want to know what did the child or young person hear or see with regard to money and work, and then we can reframe that and change that so that they can be more empowered in the future. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Growing up, it was money doesn't grow on trees, and what the hell do you need money for? I was like, well, to buy stuff. Yeah, no, I get that. Do you find, Kamin, that a lot of people though kind of go to the extreme of blaming their parents for their own financial situation right now?
Some people do, but most people are unconscious to
Right.
it. They don't even realize that. So say somebody had a father who was in sales when they were growing up. And so money came in, they spent all the money because it'd been a while since he had made a sale. And then all of a sudden it goes out again, and now they're back to poverty. So it's this feast or famine. So lo and behold, fast forward 40, 50 years, this person, they get their paycheck, or they get new clients or their sales, and they drain the account almost identically, and they're not even aware. I kind of have the phrase I use with them, and that's children in charge. We don't know as adults that we are reacting like the child that saw whatever that behavior was.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. How do you then work? Because you work a lot with clients who have, I mean, I'm labeling, limiting beliefs around money. I mean, how would you describe that? And then how do you work with them to break that cycle? Because I know what you're talking about. I grew up in extreme poverty, and years broke. Just I like what Dave Ramsey says about how does he say it? Being broke is a fact, but being poor is a mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I work with people one-on-one generally in various capacities, and they're generally coming to me. They're not always saying that they have money beliefs. They're just usually saying they're not where they want to be financially success. They want to grow their business. They want to, I work with a lot of coaches who are trying to build their businesses, and they don't, they're having money trouble, and they're not able to grow. So when I start with the child beliefs, and we find, for the host, there's so many different variations of it. The goal is really to shine the light on it, that it's, is it their belief now? They get to choose the belief. So when we shine the light on, you can say money is the root of all evil. Is it true? And so we question whether is that belief true? Is it true in all circumstances? And do they need to hold on to that belief going forward? Is that belief serving them? And then what we're doing is looking at what's the old belief, and then what's a new belief. I was working with a client recently and traveling to them, and doing a retreat with them at their home. And one of the beliefs, it was quite fascinating to it's always fascinating to me to see a belief. But it's like, the money belief can also be hidden in, I'm not willing to be seen also, and which can keep them from growing their business. And so we're looking at maybe a belief that's like, I'm waiting to be noticed by people. Nobody noticed me in my family. Well, then what's the new belief? Like, I'm enough. I matter. The work I do matters. And by shifting some of that into new language, they're able to start to get greater creativity about what they can do in their business.
So how would you take a client, Kamin? So for the listeners out there, how would you take a client, from like, mine was money doesn't grow on trees. And so for years, I really struggled financially. How would you take a person from that belief to a new belief?
So let's take a look at that belief. Money doesn't grow on trees. Another way I will come at it is, if money is simply energy. As you opened the show, you shared where did the first bills come from? What did people use it for money before? They used fish, they used livestock, whatever. But money is simply an exchange of energy for work. It's just whatever an agreed upon number is. So sometimes to get people to shake their belief up is to say, replace money with energy. So money doesn't grow on trees, energy doesn't grow on trees. energy is the root of all evil. You need to have energy to make money or energy. You're not worth energy. When we put it in that context, it just doesn't make sense. So we begin to break that pattern, and then we're looking at, okay, well, what's the new belief again? Okay, well, money doesn't grow on trees, or it's like, well, money is abundant, abundance flows in the universe everywhere, where it's the leaves on the trees or the sand or the grass or whatever. Abundance is in the universe. There's plenty of money. It's can the person begin to conceive that they can have more money, that money can come to them. And a lot of times people come to me and they want to do this huge leap. And I work with them on, it's not going from 20,000 to 100,000 or 200,000 to 600,000. We want to look at what are the stair steps to get them to whatever that goal is. So can they begin to think about, if they're at 30,000, they're trying to get to 100,000. Can you think about what would it feel like to get to 40,000, to 50,000, and feel into it? So it isn't about, like you said, it's not about working harder. It's what do you believe is possible for you? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think there's also a, I think there's a kind of what would I call it? A paradox there, because, we talk about credit card debt. We use money to fix a feeling, right? We use money because, I don't feel well, I don't feel enough, I don't feel this, I don't feel that. Well, let me go buy something and I'll feel better. And it's a short term. I wouldn't even call it a short term solution, because it's so fleeting. So in one ways, we're using money to fix a feeling. And what I hear you saying is that in order to fix your money, you've got to connect to the feeling. Right. So sort that out for us, Kamin.
So that's a great way to put it. So one thing to look at is, it's definitely not an outside-in approach, meaning we're not going to fix it by spending money.
Right. That's the outside approach.
It's redefining that wealth. Right. The wealth, abundance is really in all areas of our lives, including money. So it's an abundance of health. It's an abundance of friends. It's abundance of relationships and money. So it's not, what would it feel like if we were, we had enough, is one way to look at that. We have enough money at the end of the month that all of our bills are covered. And that's really where I started. And let me back up a little bit, because how I came to this work is really through my own absolute failure with money. I had years ago, I had a failed business and ended up in bankruptcy, lost 2 homes. And I realized that I had created the bankruptcy in my mind first, 14 months earlier, when I thought I was going to get a lot of money and it didn't show up. And I remember saying out loud, I'm going to have to file bankruptcy. And I rehearsed that. If I don't make a sale, I'm going to have to file bankruptcy. If I don't grow my business, I'm going to have to file bankruptcy. And that was the predominant thought until I ended up 14 months later filing bankruptcy.
Wow.
So I had to learn, like, if I could create that, how do I flip that? If I'm that powerful, like, how do I change that? And I realized if I'm thinking, it's not about affirmations. It's not like I am a millionaire. That is just going to, your ego mind is going to reject that like nobody's business.
Yeah. I did probably years of that too. Like, I'm rich, I'm abundant, and all the while I'm feeling like you're a total loser.
That is
we're talking about that, yeah.
That is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because if we go against that and feel bad about ourselves and feel bad about the money we don't have, we stay in an energy of lack. So what we're talking about here in helping people, and the work I do is really helping them think differently about where they are today and where they want to go, say in the next 3 to 6 months, maybe a year, not too far out. But then it's like, what would it feel like? In the beginning, I just wanted $50 extra at the end of the month. Like, after paying all of my bills, my rent, all of that, can I have $50? What would that feel like? Then it would be, what would $100, and then 1,000, and then 5,000, 10,000 on up from there. But it began to kind of, it's the feeling of wealth that, and not I am wealthy, but what would it feel like if I had enough, is the very beginning of where I start people who, especially who might be struggling with a lot of debt.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something you said there. You know, you had the thoughts of bankruptcy, and you and I both know from work that we've done, you know, with other coaches, that we feel our thinking.
Yes.
So whatever we're thinking in our head, we're going to feel that, and whatever we feel, that's what we're putting out as we're future imagining that that's what's going to happen, right? Is that basically what you're saying, or?
That's absolutely what I'm saying. And so we want to switch our thoughts, choose better thoughts, but not that they're, again, not in an affirmation way of something that's lofty, goaly, but really what's our next level? What's that next level you want to get to? So if it's a coach, it's like, instead of like, I need 10 clients, it's like, well, what would it feel like to have one client?
Yeah. I hear coaches say that all the time.
Right.
And it's too big for the head, right? You know,
Yeah.
when I say I want $1 million, my brain says, good luck with that. But, you know, when I say, hey, I need an extra $1,000 or you know, $100 at the end of the month, it's the brain doesn't.
Brain knows what to do with that.
You know, the emotional brain, as we all know, we have the reptilian, emotional, neocortex, and the emotional brain is the feeling brain. So if we're telling, yeah.
Can I add one piece there?
Yes, yeah.
The other thing is that when it's close enough, when it, you know, you could be, so if you're in corporate and you're trying to get to your next promotion, it's not, again, not going too far. But when I use this every level in corporate to get promoted, I got promotions and raises during times when there was a freeze. And so it's really, it helps the mind when it's close in enough and it's just a stair step. The mind also can find the action that you would take that would support that belief. So say when I was a senior manager going for director, I would think throughout the day, well, what would a director be thinking? How would I be answering questions? How would I be taking care of my team? Same with coaches. How would I be handling this coach at this next level? And ideas and inspired actions drop in that if you follow that, just miracles abound, because you can hear, like, inside of yourself a name or somebody comes to mind, and you follow up with them and they say, you know, I was just thinking of you. How did you know? Or like, and it's just this synchronicity because you've raised your vibration to match somebody who is at the same vibration as you are. Is that helpful in driving that?
That is very clear. So if you could give us, the listeners, like in terms of shifting from you know, I don't have enough money, money doesn't go on trees, to the new belief, like how would you give that 3 steps, like to actually do, you know, first do this, first do that, second do that, third do that. Is there a process for this, Kamin?
The process is a little different in the sense of the steps in this. First, the reason I use the word wealth, it comes from The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. It's a book I landed on just after my bankruptcy. And he used the word wealth success. I can only hold one word at a time, so I use the word wealth, which is in my first journal. But anybody can do this. This is what I used for decades to grow myself. And it's literally before you going to bed or when you wake up in the morning, it's just using the word wealth inside of you and just thinking wealth. well, what would it feel like? So whether you're growing your business, trying to pay off debt, what would it feel like to see a zero balance when the credit card statement comes in? What would it feel like to have $100 extra? What would it feel like to have, like I used it even for my wedding, to create an extraordinary wedding? And so first it's identifying, well, what would you like to create? And then what would you like to believe about it? The thing you're listening for is the yeah buts.
Mm-hmm.
And write those down. Yeah, I'm not talented enough. Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to have money to make money. All of that. You just write those down and then just write a new belief. Like, what is a more supportive belief? Well, there is a lot of money in the world. If you're spiritual, I tell my spiritual clients who are more on the Christian side that, God is no respecter of person. I tell the people who are more on the atheist side, it's just like, there is money in the bank. So it's like whatever would begin to shift, and just using that word wealth, not I am wealthy, but just wealth, connects you to the energy of that. And then listen. So I have in the journal, like, what do you, notice when you're meditating on that? Just, even if it's just a minute a day, just getting yourself into connection to it. And then what are the inspired actions? Call this person, write this, email this person, and follow through. And then notice every day how the universe is actually showing up for you. You find a penny, somebody buys you coffee. For me and my husband, we always say we call it wonderful new surprising wealth, when money kind of just shows up, whether it's a dime on the street or somebody buys us lunch, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I love that. I love that that was in the wealth transformation journal that you have.
Yes.
We'll talk about it a little bit later. Yeah, love that. Because I pass pennies on the street all the time. I see
See,
pennies,
when
I know that's just a penny.
you would think I won the lottery if you saw me see a penny. Now,
Yeah.
if the penny is in, I lived in Marina Del Rey and would walk in Venice, so sometimes the penny and coins were in stuff I didn't want to touch.
Right. Yeah.
So I would leave them there, but I would look at them and I would say out loud, usually because my husband was there, I say, I receive the wealth. And because I really had a belief that the universe, when I find one on the ground, the universe is throwing money at my feet. I want to notice it and receive it so that that's my vibration, that it's everywhere.
Yeah, I love that. I want to go back to something you said because I found it interesting. Like, we're talking about, creating financial prosperity. We're talking about creating wealth. And specifically, we're talking about money. But you said something a couple of minutes ago. You said that I'm growing myself. So you didn't say I'm growing wealth. You said I'm growing myself. Is that how we grow our wealth? Is through growing ourselves? Is that what you meant by that? Or
By shifting our inner belief about what's possible for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody, again, is growing a business, and again, I work with people who are millionaires who have what I would refer to as the bankruptcy of the soul. They're not sleeping at night. I work with everybody in between. And we have to shift what we believe about who we are and what we can accomplish in the world. And any belief that is contrary to that can put us in lack on who we are and what kind of money we can attract. When I had a client who came to me, and for the last 4 years, I think she had made like in the $35,000 in her business. And I said to her, who told you that's all you were worth? Because it had happened over and over and over again. And then I looked at and asked her questions about her family, and 32,000 had been the most her father had ever earned. So she was mirroring that, and there are beliefs about, I can't exceed what my father earned or my parents earned. There are some of those beliefs that people have. So if we hold ourselves back from growing our skills and what we would go for to keep ourselves small sometimes in the family unit. So if we don't continue to grow and grow our mindset and change and start to think, well, what if I could achieve that? What if I could be a six-figure coach? What if I could be a vice president? And look at what do I have to do on the physical level, the mental, emotional, and spiritual, the spiritual being that meditation with wealth, that helps change our vibration about what we can accomplish in our lives. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that resonates. Talk to us, Kamin, about the rapid transformational therapy that you do with people. Are we beating pillows? What are we doing here?
I have beat a few pillows in my day, but
I have too, quite a few. Still, every now and then I do.
so a lot of the work that I do is on the conscious level, and I have a bunch of skills for that. I have a master's in spiritual psychology from the University of Santa Monica, and so we learned a process called healing of memories, and that's really some of the conscious work I do around growing up the younger child, helping us see the beliefs from the younger child's perspective, reframe them, and then that opens creativity. What I found, many of my clients have been doing extraordinarily well, and then suddenly they stopped. They were still doing well in their businesses, but that one goal that they had, that one dream they had, they could not, like there was no amount of willpower, mine or theirs, in the world that would help get them to take action. And so I started looking for, how do I get underneath the conscious? There's got to be something underneath that. And discovered rapid transformation therapy and became a certified hypnotherapist in this particular modality, which basically, and it's not hypnotherapy like in Vegas. We're not going to make you cluck like a chicken.
Right. You don't have to talk about past this or past that.
So, but we are going to look at what are the 3 to 5 scenes from your childhood while somebody's super relaxed. That's all we're doing is relaxing the nervous system. And they'll go back to 3 to 5 scenes that all to do with whatever they presented with. So clients come in and they're not taking action. They have a lot of fear. So it goes back to that fear, and the mind knows exactly where they've stopped them. They could be at 17, they got kicked out of school. Then I go back further and it was, at 6, their parent used them in a divorce against the other parent. I have seen so much trauma that people, walk around with. And those fears that stop us from moving in the subconscious actually think that they are helping us. And I'm looking for what is the role, function, purpose, and intention of that fear. And the mind will tell me it's to keep them safe. It's to keep them protected. And so with rapid transformation therapy, once we identify why the mind is holding on to those beliefs, then I can rewire the mind with their words, really the client's words, that they want more confidence, they want wealth, that it's possible for them to achieve whatever it is that their goal is, that they can be an expansive coach or grow their career, that they're safe in their own world. And so they have a recording at the end of that. It's a 2-hour session. I send them a recording of just the transformation, just the rewiring, and they listen to that for 30 days. And that, from a neuroplasticity, neuroscience realm, we're changing and creating new pathways inside of them that match what they have said they want. And there's so much freedom and creativity that comes.
Yeah, no, I totally hear that. It's like behind every negative behavior, there's always a positive intention.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what it is,
And there's behind every negative situation in any way is, I love reframing pretty much everything that somebody is dealing with, so that they can see it as there's this greater possibility for them to expand into who they came here to be, their gifts and abilities, how they share and show up in the world.
Yeah, and I'm sure you find like a lot of people. I'm sure you find that that's quite empowering because oh, I have these limiting beliefs and la la la, and it's very disempowering. So to know that it's a choice. I mean,
It's a choice.
would you say it's just
It's a choice to hold on to that belief. It's a choice, because a lot of times people will say, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And I'll say, well, whose voice is it? And
Yeah.
that startles them, and they have to think for a moment. Oh, it was my mom's. And again, no blame. It was my dad. It was whatever. The choice is, do I hold on? Once we see it, once we shine the light on it, it's the choice. Do I hold on to that?
Yeah. 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 So the scarcity or not having money, that's not the problem. It's a symptom of.
It's a symptom of what they're believing about themselves, about their possibilities, about who they are. And again, that's learned. First, we want to identify, what beliefs do I have about my abilities, about money, about who I can be in the world, and then shift those to something more powerful that would support them. Like, every day I take action, because it's not just about kind of airy fairy, again, I want to be rich. I'm listening for the actions that support the new belief that I can get to my next level. If I'm an individual contributor and I want to get to supervisor, and I'm using the wealth exercise and just thinking wealth, what would it feel like to be a supervisor? Well, throughout the day now, I have different thoughts around, well, if I was a supervisor, how am I taking care of somebody? How am I taking care of the other humans around me? How am I responding? So regardless of industry that somebody's in, there's what's the next level, and how would you be thinking and performing at that level, and what can you do today?
Yeah. I'm glad Kamin, you talked about action because, I remember The Secret came out. I don't know how many years ago that was. It was like, hey, if you just drink tea and eat Doritos, you'll make lots of money. And I fell for it.
I did too.
I fell for it. I would be affirming and all that stuff for days and days and days, and telling everyone, and all the while I was driving a 1958 POS. So where does the action come in? Because we're not just saying, or you're not just saying that, hey, yeah, if you just, visualize it and look at it, and where does the action come in? The perseverance, the sweat.
Right. Well, it's actually, this is where it gets to be fun, because it's when somebody is working on their vibration, and again, I'm using the wealth exercise, and there's other ways to do this, but it's really like, when I was trying to get to my next level in corporate, and I'm thinking, okay, I want to be a director, and going, what would it feel like? And I'm doing that meditation. I took that into the day, and then in every meeting would be thinking, okay, what would I be thinking as a director? Oh, all of a sudden I get the inspiration to create a PowerPoint and give that to my boss. Well, that then showcased my abilities at a different level. As a coach, it's the same thing. If I'm working on creating a new client, and I'm practicing and rehearsing how to talk to them, how would I be serving them, what would I be thinking, I'm actually taking action in different ways. So if they're inspired action, you're looking for hunches and intuition, instinct of who to call, what to do, how to speak to another person, how to care for them. There's a myriad of ways that it shows up when one starts to listen at this new level.
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Now, and the action is actually critical to this piece, because if somebody doesn't take action on what they're hearing, it's almost like you can get so congested, and it paralyzes us with fear versus simply taking the action and testing it. So that's another piece of this, is test out your intuition, your instinct, what's coming through you. Test it. See, is it, it has to be good and healthy and in service to people. It can't be harming anybody, because there's a whole lot of karma that can come to somebody from if you're doing something against somebody else. But if you're doing something in alignment with who you are, and you're hearing, call this person, create this report, and you take action, you'll get feedback from the universe if you're on track.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, that's where coaching, we're both coaches. Did you know that you're a coach? I didn't. I just told myself it right now, and apparently I am. But we know how supporting, having a coach can be for the action.
Yes.
Because I can tell you from just my own experience, like, yeah, I could imagine, and I could visualize, and I could feel, and I could vision, and I could look at this and what I wanted and create this. But boy, the action was not easy. How do you help people with taking action? What are some questions you could ask them?
Yeah, that's such a great question, because whether I'm doing the conscious or the rapid transformation therapy, hypnotherapy work, once we can clean up the kind of the limiting beliefs, and we're now looking at, okay, I don't have to believe the money is the root of all evil, or I don't have to hold on to those subconscious beliefs that I learned as a child. Then it's what would you like to create? Oh, I would like to grow my business. Then what we're looking at, I work with people on the new mindset. What do they have to believe about themselves, their possibilities, and what they want to create? What are the actions that would support it? And then what are the habits? So I'm working closely with my clients on where they're headed next. And I love to tell them, and they all know this, because I have these amazing clients. Like, I have no limiting beliefs about what my clients can achieve.
Wow.
So I'm holding this vision for them, and I can see the path that they can get there. And we work together on what are the actions, and try to chunk it down in like a 3-foot toss of what they need to do. They go away, take 1 or 2 actions, come back, and we're looking at course correction. As a pilot, we're off track. The autopilot system is off track more than it's on track.
Right.
So as a coach, I'm always working with my clients and letting them know you're going to be off track. The goal is to keep that vision in front of you of where you're headed. Keep taking one step at a time, and you will get there. My favorite image is a sea turtle. And because the sea turtle just I was flailing about the first time I went snorkeling, and the sea turtle came by and it looked at me, and I know it was saying, dude, relax, just breathe, move your arms. And I completely calmed down. And a lot of times that's what I'm doing with my clients. Dude, relax, we got this. We're just going to take one step, check it out, and hold that vision of where they're headed.
Yeah, I find that to be the same with my clients. It's like, ah! What's the next one thing that you can do? Yeah. What's the most simple, doable next action step that you can take? What's the thing that you already know how to do, you're just not doing it? Like, what's the one small step? I'm laughing about the turtle because, when we think about the turtle and the hare,
yes,
the tortoise and the hare, and the tortoise ended up winning the race. Why? Just because of what you said. He wasn't sprinting off here and sprinting off there. He was just like, and that sounds so simple, but
I keep one on my desk.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
I keep a beautiful brass turtle on my desk to keep reminding me, because we all do this. Yeah. It's not, I have to do it. My coach helps me slow down and Sometimes he just looks at me like, dude, relax.
Yes, yeah.
So it's this ability for us to get into calm, get into peace. Sometimes I'll have my clients even just close their eyes to connect with, okay, what is it that you want to create? What's that next level? And what's that next step? So that they can take out the visual and just listen within, because there's this partnership between what they want to create and what wants to be created, that there's that one next step can unfold more gracefully.
We both have the same coach, Kamin, the wonderful Mr. Steve Chandler. Can we raise our cups?
Yes, yes.
We love you, Steve.
We
You're,
love you,
you're
Steve.
a
And
good
by
man.
the way, my mug has it too.
I just got green. That's about it. I like the turtle.
Yep. Yeah, so Steve has many times just looked at me like, dude. So it's and that's the thing, is to help my clients understand also that there's nothing that they're going through that I haven't already been through.
Sure, yeah. You've
Like a
been
lot,
through bankruptcy,
even,
for God's sake.
right. And so the clients who have a lot of money, they are actually, I thought it would be a detractor that I'd had a bankruptcy.
Yeah.
They actually, I was so surprised when they were like, oh my gosh, thank God. So at least you know. And it's just helps them process knowing that I've already survived that. That's just money. That what we want to do is help more and more people live into the thing that they came here to do, that they're so uniquely talented for, their zone of genius, so that they can be of service in greater ways in the world.
Yeah, yeah. What do you a lot of fear going on in the world right now, Kamin?
Yes.
What do you say to your clients who come and freak out with you? What do you say? Do you tar and feather them? Do you what do you say to them to bring some perspective or reality back to? I'm not negating what's going on in the world. I
Not negating.
get caught up in it myself. So please don't send me any emails. I don't want to hear them.
No, it's acknowledging that there is this challenges in the world right now. But for my business owners, and I have professors and thought leaders who are doing some amazing things in the world, I'm one of those people who really sees this as an opportunity for people to be of greater service. My professor, one of my professors, we were working on moving her entire class structure online, while the rest of the campus was in flutter and his, kind of a little bit of hysteria.
Yeah.
And we just literally, did her Zoom classes, got everything set up, and she figured out her messaging to her students, and she's ready to go on Monday. My business owners and consultants, it's like, yes, you're supposed to go somewhere live, but you can deliver. Now is the time to help people with their mindset more than ever. So that's really that I really can see that this is an opportunity for us as humans to care for one another more, to be of service to each other, to live like, if we're, our time here is a blink on this planet comparatively. So what are you waiting to do? What are you holding back on? And what's the very next step to live into that more?
I love that. I love you're speaking my language, Kamin. You're speaking my language. Well, that's beautiful. I'm just going to sit and let that land for a second, Kamin, because that really spoke to me. I think, I was talking to my mentor this morning, and he travels a lot for his work, and he was saying, boy, Dermot, he said, it's crazy out there. And I said, and it just came out of my mouth before I'd even known what I was saying. He said, yeah, he said, but when you have so many people freaking out, you also have a lot of prayers in the world, and not to get religious, 'cause I'm not religious by any means, But when you know what you don't want, then you can start to create what you do want. And I think that's what I
Yeah.
heard and what you were saying. We started the conversation with it. You can be informed, nothing wrong with that, but you don't have to be inundated.
Right.
You can get creative, or you can be reactive.
Yes.
What I hear you saying in that, Kamin, is get creative.
Get, get creative. And I had to be a little stern with this with a couple of consultants yesterday that I was working with, and they were having an event next week that I was saying it's time to talk about canceling.
Yeah.
It, it's just prudent. I know it would work out fine, but it's prudent at this time. And it was just really switching off any fears and just saying, look, like, this is a time you all have a technology that will help the world. Let's get creative. What would you love to do? How would you work? I know you've been resistant to bringing some of your work into Zoom, but now is the time for us to really think differently about this. Because if, again, I've got no limiting beliefs about what they can create, I can see that they can make a lot more money than what was limited by their physical getting on planes time and time again, and being exhausted somewhere versus showing up on Zoom and being able to deliver the same content. So this is a creative time. This is a time to care for one another. This is not a time that anybody should be thinking limitation or hate or anything. It really is. There's a oneness to this that could wake up this world, that we can participate. There is abundance everywhere, and that we can take care of each other in new ways.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. I want to make a mention, Kamin, because I I loved your book, Increase Your Abundance, starting today. I really enjoyed that book. And as I said, I'm doing the transformation, that's the success journal. Um, who would be interested in buying that book, Increase Your Abundance, starting today? Who would that be good for?
That's a great starter book for anybody who's really coming to, uh, you mean it's my thoughts that I'm in lack, not from judgment, but then to take ownership, because it's really the gory details of my story of how I got into debt and the tools by which I use to get out of debt. Um, then the Wealth Transformation Journal takes that work to another level of just tracking every day and getting somebody into the habit of thinking wealth or success. I have people who have had health challenges also use just the word health and what would it feel like, and have really wonderful outcomes from that. And now you mentioned the Success Transformation Journal. That one was because when I was in corporate, I was the most brutal human being to my own thoughts. Like, I would and berate myself at the end of the day for what I said, what I didn't do, whatever. And I had to shift what I saw in the world. So I shifted every night and wrote 3 things I was successful at that day, 3 things I was grateful for, and then what I wanted to experience the next day, which really allowed a beautiful energy to go in. And I shared, a miraculous story at the beginning of that book. And it just helped to shift, and I still use it today. Some of all the time, those tools.
And you've learned a lot of those tools just from the hard school of knocks of just going through bankruptcy. And I remember a company Steve was telling me this. A company asked him, why should we hire you? And he said, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've got 4 kids that I'm raising on my own. My wife is in a psychiatric ward.
Yeah. I've lived this stuff. I've lived it. I know, and and one thing I want to tell people also is, when you go to your next level, whatever it is, those limiting beliefs their new limiting beliefs will show up. And you just do this, you rinse and repeat this process of what is that belief? what's a new, more supportive belief, and what's my new mindset and the habits that I need to support myself to move forward. So it's just this beautiful thing that we get to wake up with and play with every day, that if we don't take it too seriously, it's like, oh, I've got limiting, I believe that I'm not good enough. I believe that nobody will pay me. I believe that that money grows on trees, and money doesn't grow on trees. I believe it grows on trees, apparently. So we just want to keep shifting and growing every time to our next level. It's all inside of us about what we believe about what's possible for ourselves.
Kamin, will you take everything that we talked about today, and no pressure, and I'd kind of just summarize, what do you want the listeners to hear in everything that we've talked about today? What do you really want them to hear from this?
Such a great question, because I mean, I think what I want people to take away from this is that the beliefs, if they have any beliefs that are holding them back, if they are not at the level that they want to be, there's a belief underneath it, and that they can shift it. They may need support from a coach or someone who is skilled at helping with limiting beliefs, but that I want to give them hope that it is possible. If I can recover from the mess I made of my life, anybody can. And so it's simply being willing to look at our beliefs, no judgment of ourselves or others, compassionate and loving for ourselves, and that we can create whatever it is that we want. It's one step at a time, though.
Thank you, Kamin. Thank you. So you've got the Increase Your Abundance starting today. You've got the Wealth Transformation Journal and the Successful Life Transformation Journal. Where would people pick those up, Kamin? And if people want to connect with you, how do they do that?
They can get them all on Amazon.com. You just put in Kamin, K-A-M as in Mary, I-N as in Nancy, Samuel, and you'll see all 3 books there. Now, with the Increase Your Abundance starting today, if somebody wants that in PDF form, I'm happy to send that to them. So if they want to email me at kaminsamuel.com, just email me and say you want the Increase Your Abundance starting today. I'm happy to email that to you. If you have any other questions about something I said, or if you're like, I think I'm seeing that I had this goal for 5 years and I haven't gotten there. Is there a belief there? Reach out to me. I love to help people, get past those beliefs as fast as they can. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And my website is kaminsamuel.com.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm going to see if I can find this quote. Oh, yes, I found it. I'm on a bit of a Harriet Tubman kick today. I've been reading about her life. So I'll share a quote to finish our talk off today. Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember you have within you the strength, patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. All right, everyone, you've been listening to the Celtic Coach radio show, where science, spirituality, and self-discovery meet. You can pick us up every Friday on 92.5 FM, F for Frank, M for Matilda, or you can go to the website at kows.fm. And if you want to reach out to myself, lower or higher, you can go to thecelticcoach.com, CELTIC, celticcoach.com. There's weekly radio shows there. You can spend your entire life. If you don't want to leave the house ever again, you can just go there onto the website. There's weekly radio shows, there's interviews, and everything else. No free ice cream, though. Sorry. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. This is Dermot and Kamin saying cheers. Bye, everyone.